Hello, you. This is Guru Larry, and you're listening to Tiger Claw Radio.
Hey, paisans, the time has come. On the air since 2009, the independently produced, non-FCC compliant champ of video game talk podcasting. Here comes Tiger Claw Radio. Here's your host, Critical Failure.
Welcome everybody to Tiger Claw Radio. I'm your host, Critical Failure. What a week it's been. Oh my goodness. I just finished the sound test and everything looked normal, and now it looks like the needles are jumping off the chart. Sorry? Okay, so we got some tracks off of the Battle of the Bits Winter Chip competition. They haven't released the album yet on Bandcamp for like a single zip download, but you can still go check out the winners. You can go check out all the entrants, the entries. You can check all that stuff out, including my son, the Glitch Master, his track Catch and Release, which was submitted. He got it together and got a track out, and I did not. So we're gonna check some of that stuff out later. We got a couple of van casts. We got some good stuff. This is gonna be a good one, boys and girls. Stick with us. We're gonna kick things off with the actual the winner of Winter Chip 15. The number one entry was the artwork, so I don't count that because I'm only interested in the songs. The number one song was called Four Cool People featuring Pandova Is a Good, and it's from Robin, R-O-B-Y-N.
I think it's pronounced Pandavava. Is it good?
I don't know. It's the number one track. Just look it up. But here it is. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. Not bad. What did you think of the number one track? That was okay. I worry about those collaborations. They get too many people collaborating. It starts to be like 4 really short songs chained together, and sometimes it can sound a little disjointed. But that's not bad. They did a good job. So congratulations on winning Winter Chip 15. Don't spend all your internet points in the same place. All right, boys and girls, you know where we're going to go next. We're going to jump in the Wayback Machine and set the date for just this past Tuesday, I think. I didn't listen. I didn't do any van casting on Monday or Thursday or Friday. So we only have 2 this week. And the reason why is because I've been listening to a podcast called Retrospect, which is all 1960s psychedelic and garage rock, and that has completely captured my imagination. So only 2 van casts this week, but 2 is enough. Come on now. All right, let's go there now. You're listening to Tiger Club Radio. Morning, everybody. It's Tuesday. It's the Vancast. It is 6:09 in the morning. I'm getting out a little bit early today, even for me. And I'm pulling out. It is a gorgeous 56 degrees and crystal clear outside. Spring has broken here in the neighborhood. And I'm off to work. I spent the morning playing Cool Borders 3. I put out that Cool Borders 3 video that you guys saw last week. Did that this morning. And I did a second video for the supporters. Cool Borders 3 is a good game, man. I enjoyed it. Did some downhill jams. Did some half piping, I guess. I don't know what you call that. Half piping? Sounds like something you do to a cake. But anyway, yeah, it was a good time. My office is in great shape. It's all clean. I was up early this morning. Typically, you'd think of like 2 days after daylight savings time as like a rough time because that's when we lose an hour of sleep. But I'm in good shape, man. I like it. The sun is out longer, so my kids can play outside a little bit later than they have been. And yeah, having some fun with the old video games, and yeah, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. It has been a good time indeed. Oh boy, this particular gentleman is making the decision to go at a rather slow pace, and it is an interesting life decision to do that out here on an empty road. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Yeah, so video games. So it was great to play some PS1 games. And I'm thinking, let's see. So I started with 2 Extreme. I played some Cool Borders 3 this morning. I kind of want to play some more Cool Borders 3, but it would make sense to move from Cool Borders 3 onto Street Skater. That was the next game that I really got into when it comes to these extreme sports games. Street Skater is, I think it might have the distinction of being the first 3D, fully 3D skateboarding game. Because I know it predates Tony Hawk by a little bit. Tony Hawk was the better game, don't get me wrong. But Street Skater is definitely like the overlooked gem in this situation. It's a great 3D skateboarding game. It was more of a downhill or linear arcade style, but it had these like half pipe areas that you could go off like tangentially and try and build a score as you worked your way through the course. So not quite the enclosed open world that Tony Hawk gave you, but pretty close. More so than any game that came before it. I had a lot of fun with it. It also, one thing it had in common with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is it had a standout soundtrack. Tony Hawk had a great soundtrack, right? It's kind of something that Tony Hawk fans talk about quite a lot. I don't know why people give it a hard time, because that was a lot of people's first introduction. Woo! A lot of people's first introduction to a lot of like landmark punk bands, right? The Dead Kennedys were on the soundtrack for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. That blows my mind. I don't, especially like now that I've listened to a few albums from the Dead Kennedys, I don't know how Activision, of all companies, managed to swing that. That blows my mind. But Street Skater, before it, was the same way. Street Skater had Less Than Jake on it. It had H2O. It had Eye Against Eye, which was a band produced by Stephen Edgerton, who was from The Descendants. Who else was on it? Gas Huffer, a couple of Epitaph bands. Street Skater had a great soundtrack. I don't think it had quite as many timeless bands that Tony Hawk had, like the Vandals, right? Or Goldfinger. But it was really good. Street Skater had let's see, it had All on it, right? Which was the name the Descendants were going under at the time. All right, give me a second here. I distinctly remember Street Skater being one of those games that you could put into the CD player and it would actually play the soundtrack, which is something they had to go out of their way to do. And I only really remember doing that with like a handful of PlayStation 1 games. The game was pretty cool, but the soundtrack was really cool. So it might be fun to play some Street Skater again. Street Skater 2, the game was cooler than the first game by a little bit, but the soundtrack wasn't quite as good. Like, it was okay. There were some decent jams on it, but didn't quite stack up, in my opinion. I just remember this whole Street Skater 2 situation was a little different in that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 was coming, and it had a track builder. And we all kind of knew there was going to be a track editor in Tony Hawk 2. So Street Skater 2 kind of beat it to market by like a little bit. Street Skater 2 came out like 6 months prior, and that had a track builder as well. But the Street Skater 2 track builder was way simplified compared to the Tony Hawk track builder. You had, I think, probably like a 5x5 grid, or maybe bigger. Maybe it was like 6x6 or something. But you had a small tile-based grid, and in that grid you could put some ramps or track elements, or like jumps or quarter pipes or things like that. And that was pretty much your track. It was way simplified. It was good. I mean, there was a lot of fun to be had, but you didn't have nearly as much creative freedom. Excuse me. As you did in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. I got a memory card for the PS1 that's full of tracks from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 from back in the day, man. I spent a lot of time with that track editor. It was a lot of fun. Alright, so that's it. Up next is Street Skater. I'm going to have to dig the disc out. I'm pretty sure I still have it. That's assuming that I don't go back and play more Cool Borders. I had a lot of fun playing Cool Borders 3 this morning. I might actually want to do that a little bit more, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm enjoying these types of games because I don't think I've played and enjoyed an extreme sports game since when was the last one I really dug into deep? It might have been Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 on the PS2. That might have been the last time. Because I remember playing that game, and I remember unlocking a bunch of stuff and having a great time with it, but I don't ever remember beating it. Like, I remember getting stuck on levels in that game and then giving up. And that being, like, the end of me really digging that genre of game. Because by that time, it was probably like 2003, 2004. Yeah. After that, I got my Xbox, and I had Halo. And then when Halo came around, then there was no going back. We were in a different era of video games at that point. You know, interestingly enough, I don't really remember. I know there must have been something, but I don't really remember any solid games like that for the PC. Do you guys? I mean, we had Ski Free.
That counts, right? But no, I don't remember. I don't remember any like awesome skateboarding or snowboarding type games for the PC at all. Tony Hawk never got a PC port, did it? None of those games. Not until Tony Hawk's Pro Skater like HD. That weird port that we got like 5 years ago or so. How many years ago that was? I know that's on Steam now, but back in like the 2000s, early 2000s, we didn't have anything like that. I don't remember even a single like big box PC game that was like an extreme sports game. I don't know. It seems weird because thinking about it now, there was a lot of intersection between those two eras, right? When Cool Borders 2 and Cool Borders 3 were around, you know, no Tony Hawk yet, but people were still playing those games. There had to have been something. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. Now I'm thinking there might be something I just didn't know about. We'll have to see. All right, we're 10 minutes in. I promise I'm done talking about extreme sports games now. Done talking about it. Ready to move on to other things. Ready to move on to Suikoden. JRPG of the month is Suikoden for sure. The problem I'm having with Suikoden is I have my limited amount of time to play in the morning. I played PlayStation games for probably like 40 minutes this morning. And I don't think my PlayStation emulator has a save state on it. I have to do... Oh, okay. Excuse me. I have to do the traditional memory card save. You know, like you do on an actual PlayStation. It might have save states, but I'm not 100% on that. I hope it does, because JRPGs in particular, man, they need it. They really do. They need save state, and they need frame skip. They need a frame skip turbo button. ZSNES, I remember growing up, I think when you press the tilde key, if you were playing on ZSNES, it would, while you were holding it down, it would turbo speed your emulator. So if you were just like trying to grind out a bunch of battles, you know, in some RPG, you could hold that down and get through it really quick. That's what my PlayStation emulator needs. That would be dope. Alright. It's 6:21. We're about 11 and a half minutes in. I think I'm going to send you guys back to the studio. Because I know it's only Tuesday morning. I know I'm going to have some stuff to go over tomorrow for sure. And I'm probably going to babble on another, half hour and whatnot. So in order to keep things from running too long, I will see you guys there.
All right. So I put on the Vancast, and just when we went off the air, I listened to like the first minute and a half. And my son leans over and says, "You know that weird singing you just did? I think that ruined your video." So thanks for that. You don't like Tom Waits?
Who's that?
You don't know who Tom Waits is?
No.
All right. You wouldn't like him. He's good.
Well, I don't know what you think of good, but it's kind of be pretty bad.
All right.
Don't know. Don't listen to this guy.
Okay. Getting away from Tom Waits here. I want to go back to. We want to go back to the Battle of the Bits. All right. So he submitted a song, and the competition is over. So he got let me see. Out of 237 entries, he got 230, which means he beat 7 people. So we went back to look and see what were the 7 tracks that he finished out over. And the one that was 231st, meaning one spot below him, was a track called Robo Assassin from Atlas Moth. Little bare bones. Actually, he's got some good... There's some real good ideas in this track, and it's not very long either. So I thought I'd play it. Stick with us. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. And by the way, if you want this track, the MP3 is free over at Battle of the Bits. Just look it up. Robo Assassin. Leave them a comment. Let them know you heard them on Tiger Claw Radio. These guys love that kind of stuff. They need feedback. Stick with us. Back again in the studio. What do you think? Is there any potential there? I think so. Here's his description. This song isn't one of those overclocked Famicom tracks. It's just a simple NES song. No PCM samples, just pure noise, triangle, and pulse. Hopefully you can enjoy because this is my first entry in any competition. I think he did okay. You know what, Robo Assassin? You did okay. Let's throw this guy a favorite. I actually honestly can't remember how to do that. I don't know how to do it. Oh, wait, I think that did it. Yeah, there we go. There we go, buddy. I got you favorited. Good track. All right. So we do have one more van. Oh, man, the needles are really jumping around. We've got one more van cast for the week. It's not much. And then we'll read some emails, tell some stories, and it'll be a good time. But first, I just want to take a minute to thank the sponsors because we are 23 minutes in to a Patreon-sponsored program. These guys, they give of their resources to make sure we can come back every week. And I honestly, I wish I could do more. I really do. Because the difference that is made is huge. So to them, I offer early access to the show. As soon as I can get it completed, it goes up on Patreon. I also did some work to clean Patreon up over the last week. And, there's a few supporters-only videos and podcasts and stuff up there. And I read their names off in a hall of distinguished gentlemen. And they are Hemrock, Sendu, Tecmo Balls, Durabka, Konstantin Kelman, and Eric Controller. Thank you guys very much. I hope you guys are enjoying the party. And with that, let's get back to the van. Morning, everybody. It is Wednesday. It's time for the van cast. It is 6:25 in the morning. It is 42 degrees. I'm getting ready to pull out of my spot, and we're going to make our way to work so I can do my Wednesday at the office. Oh boy, what a nice morning it's been. I woke up, made my way to my office, at home, my home office. Oh, look at that, the garage door's open. I didn't do that. Come on. The battery in my garage door opener it's nearly dead. And it will still work if I jam that thing over and over again. Hang on a second. But I have to smash that like button for sure. Come on. Close. I gotta close it. I can't leave it like this. Alright. Here. Okay. Out of the car. Fresh air feels good, man. Alright, give me a second. Just pop this open. Put that in. Nope. Put it in wrong. There we go. Down we go. Down goes the garage door. Okay, so on my way back to the car, I was going somewhere with my explanation of what happened this morning. My hour that I give myself before I get ready, I spent it playing Cool Borders 3, which was pretty awesome. Played Cool Borders 3 yesterday and had a great time. Made a little YouTube video and then made a little supporter video on top of that. Had a great time. Revisited it today and
I wanted to unlock more stuff, you know? And it seems like the difficulty to do that is starting to heat up a little bit. Because I sat down this morning and I decided I'd make another video. Let's make a part 2, you know? Let's unlock some more stuff. And I did indeed record probably like 25 minutes of footage, but I spent the whole morning struggling with like one sort of slalom event, and I think the end result was I did eventually get it, but I got the high score and it didn't actually unlock anything, so that was really frustrating. Give me a second here. So I don't know. And it's just me struggling over and over again with the same event. I'm probably not going to use the footage. Oh, hang on. What is that? I don't know. Okay, I thought I saw flashing lights for a minute. Apparently not. Yeah, so that was my morning. It felt good. I'm still enjoying Cool Borders 3. I'll definitely sit down with it again. Yeah, it's fun. I have to dig out Street Skater because I want to do some footage of Street Skater next. And I'm honestly not sure if I even have that game. Because it's been a lot of years since I really rounded up my PS1 collection. But I did get out a few other games. I got a copy of Twisted Metal 2 a year or two ago. It was one of these things where I just got lucky and went into the used bookstore. And sure enough, there was Twisted Metal 2 for the PlayStation in box with the jewel case and everything. And it was like $3 or something. So I might play some Twisted Metal 2. I've also got Vigilante 8 waiting in the wings. The last time I played those games, I played them on actual hardware, and I noticed that there was some input lag. Which kills me because that means that's the way we played it back in the day. Twisted Metal 2 just had input lag, and that was just part of how they made it work. Which seems crazy to me that nobody discussed this in the late 90s when it came out initially. But yeah, hey man, that's what it was. It had input lag, but it was also cutting edge in terms of technology and game design. I can't really say much for car combat prior to Twisted Metal. So I'm looking forward to trying those on an emulator. Maybe that'll clean up some of the input lag. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see what we can do. But yeah, that might be fun. But alright, there's something I discovered unrelated to all this a couple days ago that I think is worth bringing up. Jason Rohrer, the game designer, put his backlog, slashed the prices on his backlog on Steam. And most notably, this means the Castle Doctrine, an old Steam game that I sort of liked. Okay, I really liked, but it had some flaws, had some serious flaws. That game is now $4. So to give you some context, when the Castle Doctrine came out, he said, "This is never going to go on sale. You got to get it now, or you'll never have the chance to buy it at a lesser price." He gave like 10% off for a launch price, and then that was it. No sales. Jason didn't like the Steam sale culture, which is, it is what it is. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. The problem is his game, The Castle Doctrine, depends on having people playing it. You go rob houses that were built by other actual people, and you have to build a house for other people to rob. It's really a great game. It just depends on other people to play it in order to make it playable. And because there was no sales, once the initial player base died down, it never picked back up again. But now that game is $4. So was it worth $14 that it used to be? No, absolutely not. I don't think so. But $4, oh yeah, man. Castle Doctrine was a fun game. I got about 25 hours out of it. You can still build houses and people will still come and rob them, but now it's a play-by-post game. You build your house and then you come back and check in the next day. And that's the way you play the Castle Doctrine. I played it with my son probably about a month ago. We put our heads together and we built a house, and we were able to successfully rob a couple other houses. It was doing very well, actually. I just stopped checking in on it, and then eventually I checked in after like not playing for a week or 2 weeks. And I found my house had been robbed, which I expected, but the security tapes were gone too, which is weird. Like when you come into the Castle Doctrine after not having played for a day or so, you can see all the people who've tried to rob your house, and you can watch tapes of where they moved and what they did, and you know. So if you lose, if somebody has ransacked your place and you got to start over, at least you can see how they did it. But those security tapes were gone. They don't hold on to them forever, which sucked. So I don't know. Castle Doctrine's now $4. Inside a Star-Filled Sky is another game that he made, which was a bit of a weird game. It was an arena shooter, if you will. And it was the concept of Inside a Star-Filled Sky was that it had fractal game design. So you would draw a little icon, like a little 3x3 pixel, I don't know, logo or something, flag, if you will. And you would run around a closed arena, shooting other little monsters. And there would be a couple of squares, and you would try and touch the square to leave your flag. And anytime you came across a square, you could hold a button and you could travel inside that square, and based on that, it would generate another level. And so the levels would be, every level had portals you could go into to generate new levels. So you could go in as far as you wanted, you could go out as far as you wanted. The problem was there was no real goal to the game. So you were just like infinitely traveling through portals, shooting little simple monsters. It was actually really neat, but it also doesn't have any sound effects at all, which is really strange. Again, weird little game. I enjoyed it. I think it's well worth $4. I don't think it was at all worth $10, whatever they were charging for it. Excuse me. But that's two games that have come down significantly in price that I never thought would. The Castle Doctrine and Inside a Star-Filled Sky. Both worth taking a look at. When I got this news, I wanted to do like a dedicated YouTube video. This is the Castle Doctrine. This is what you do. This is Inside a Star-Filled Sky. This is what you do in this game. This is how much they cost now. I don't see being able to do that now, because if I'm sitting down to work on videos, I'm probably going to work on Suikoden or just shoot a PS1 video, like playing Cool Borders or something. But that is the thing. This guy, Jason Rohrer, was clearly a weird guy, but he also had some really super creative ideas when it came to game design. These are a couple of games which I don't think are going to be timeless classics by any stretch of the imagination, but they definitely offer something unique, which is something not every developer can say. All right, give me a second here. It's starting to get a little roasty toasty in the old cabin. All right, now we're all set. So I guess that's about it. Played some Cool Borders 2 this morning, Cool Borders 3, and I saw that on Steam recently, and that's about all I got for you. How we doing on time? 11 minutes in. All right. Weekend's coming. I like to talk about what I'm looking forward to for the weekend when I finish these. And it's funny because I think 0 times have I ever actually played the games that I'm looking forward to. But it's still a nice thought experiment. It gives me something nice to think about as I head off to the office. And I think right now, I want to play some Suikoden. Because I decided that the short amount of time I have to play in the morning is not enough to sit down and get started with a JRPG. Especially one with save points. That's another thing I'm worried about. Alright, I've been playing some Suikoden, it's been great. Now it's time to get ready, but there's not a save point around here. So I'm going to have to keep playing till the next save point, even though it's time to go. Or I'm going to have to abandon my progress and then just turn the power off. That was the reason I stopped playing Final Fantasy VII. Was that actually happened to me. The last time I picked up Final Fantasy VII on Steam, I was playing it before work at home. And I was like, all right, 6 o'clock, it's time to get the old tie on and get out the door. And 6 o'clock came and there was no save point in sight. And I was like, oh boy. So I pushed it out. And I ended up having to play like another 15 minutes to get to a save spot. Thankfully, I get to work early every single day without fail. So I was able to leave and just make it like on time. But after that, I was like, oh, I'm not doing that again. And that was it. I think that was the end of me playing Final Fantasy VII. I haven't played it in a little while now. So, I think I'm looking forward to having an evening. Just one. Just give me one. Give me an evening to get started in this game. Get a new save file. We'll make like one really long Let's Play, the first hour or two of Suikoden. That should be enough to get some footage. I can lay that over top of my my script that I have going. Bada boom, bada bing. We got ourselves the long fabled Suikoden video that I got started years and years ago. You know, something I forgot about with essays, the difference between like writing an essay versus like doing an off-the-cuff video is doing punch-up. Do you guys know what punch-up is? That's when you write a script or some sort of written work, and then after it's written, you have to go through and try and like add some jokes to it to make it funny, to make it watchable. I used to do that. I was never good at it, but I used to like, it's like proofreading, but proofreading for personality, as opposed to looking for spelling errors and stuff. It's very weird. It's a very weird way to think. I don't know. I don't know how people can do that professionally. It's sort of like the George Costanza jerk store thing. I heard somebody else reference that recently. It's like George Costanza was in a conversation. He thought of the best comeback, like after it was too late. This is what I should have said. That's what doing punch up on a script is like. All right, so that's just a few thoughts. How are we doing now? 15 minutes in. Wow. I didn't think this was going to last this long. And I always worry when that happens. It's like, well, I got about 5 minutes worth of content. We shoot it, and then I got about 15 minutes of audio off of that. Uh-oh. Does that mean I rambled for 10 minutes? Yeah, probably. So let's go back to the studio before I waste any more time. I'll see you guys there.
All right, boys and girls, we're back in the studio. We made it. We lived. Again, by the way, retrospect, 1960s psychedelic surf, whatever.
Is it the garage door opener? Click, click, click.
Yes, that's right. My boy's giving me a hard time about the garage door opener. It's been doing that for years, by the way. It's the funniest thing.
Click, 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 click.
The battery is almost dead. It's been almost dead for years, but I won't fix it.
Almost dead, but not dead.
Because for the longest time, I was like, well, I'll just use it until it doesn't work anymore. And it's still, if I click it hard enough and long enough, eventually it will open the door. It takes more effort than actually getting out and punching in the code. But because it's not totally dead, I can't waste the battery.
Just get new batteries.
I know. To be honest, I'm afraid when I change the battery, it'll desync from the garage door and it won't work anymore.
Well, then get new batteries?
I don't know. I'll figure it out. All right. So this is the. Where are we at? Yes, fail bag. This is the fail bag portion of the show. We got an email from Hemrock. We got. Just walked out of the room. Okay. I guess it's just you and me, guys. We got an email from Hemrock, and we got a couple of comments on the YouTube channel.
That was disgusting.
Oh, hang on. What do we got? All right. We got an email from Hemrock. We'll start with that, and then we'll head over to the, to YouTube and read some of the comments. Hemrock reads, he readed this email. This is what Hemrock readed in his email. Greetings, CF. Wow, thanks for the mini monster cast. I appreciate the extra content. By the way, happy belated birthday. You know, you're right. We crossed the 2-hour mark last week, and it's been more than 6 months since we did it last. So yeah, I'm glad that the extended content goes down well, because I always worry when it runs that long, like it's a negative thing. But anyway, let's get back to the email. Were you able to figure out the side-scrolling issue in Game Maker, and is your son still playing ZZT? All right, I think the answer to both of those questions is no. We didn't look into the side-scrolling thing too deeply. He just wanted to keep building levels, which I figured was fine, because then once we figured out how to make side-scrolling work, we could just go through and implement. He's kind of doing the creative stuff with level design, and then I'm kind of making the engine work, and that's how we're doing the game. As far as ZZT is concerned, he was enjoying ZZT and playing it quite often, and then he went... what was the game you went to after that? Was that when you got back into Minecraft?
Well, I watched you play. I forced you to play Minecraft sometimes, and then watched you. And then when I would actually play something, I would go to my tablet and play Terraria, or I would go to the computer and play Droplets, which to you guys, you are not able to get on Steam anymore because Droplets is bankrupt.
Yeah,
very sorry. Very good game.
Yeah, it's a little vertical scrolling puzzle game that was around when I got on Steam. There must be a way to get it. A lot of those games you can't get them on Steam anymore, but if you look them up, you can still buy them elsewhere. So looks like johndroplets.com still exists. Give me a second. Welcome to Droplets, the sound project pioneered by... Nope, completely unrelated. Yes, I guess that game's extinct. What are you going to do? Published by Atlas, too. You'd think they'd still be able to sell it. What are you going to do? Anyway, yeah, pretty good game. It's one of the Steam games I have that is just, it's extinct. Because it kind of sucks when that happens. But, it is what it is. All right. So you've been playing Droplets. So I think that took over your interest in ZZT, which is a shame because I was really enjoying that.
By the way, for anybody who does know and play Droplets, in the board Big Ideas, I managed to get a combo of times 62. Beat that.
All right. Good job.
Yeah.
Did you get over 9,000?
9,000 what?
I don't know. Was it over that much?
Was what over that much? The score?
All right, let's get back to the email. Where did I leave off? Where did I leave it? I navigated away from the email, which is always a mistake. Give me a second. I'll find it. Yeah, here it is. All right, so we're Hemrock. We're reading Hemrock's email, remember? I enjoyed your Morrowind discussion. I booted up my XP machine this evening, and I checked out the mods I got installed on my rendition of Morrowind. And aside from my Steam client, still says I have 0 days before Steam will stop working. Good thing I haven't connected to the internet in over a year. Anyways, mods. I do have a home in Balmora. Mod, like you mentioned. My mod is called MO Balmora Lighthouse. Ooh, and he's got a link here. We're going to go ahead and click a Rooney on that one. This one includes a 3-story home on the edge of town near the Silt Strider across from the Mages Guild. The bottom floor has a room with some tables in it so you can display your items. I thought that was a nice touch. What was your home like? Okay, well, my house was... I think it was just called, in quotes, my house. And it was like a beginner's mod kind of thing. Like somebody who just got into the dev kit made it. And it was just a house in Balmora. And the place you're describing in Balmora, over near the Silt Strider, that part of town, there's a lot of mods that add buildings in that particular area, which is weird because it's like a favored place to put the player's house. But that's where mine was. It was across the river over at the Thieves Guild, but it was in that side of town. Yeah, and it was just like a one-story house that had a table and it had some shelves and some stuff, and that was really it. But to be honest, when I installed it, I never went in there. Like, I went in there once and I looked around and I was like, all right, I'm kind of done. Because again, the place where I put things and kind of made my home was the bottom floor of the Mages Guild. There's a little partition where there's like, it's in that room where there's like 3 or 4 NPCs walking around. And then there's like a little area where there's 2 or 3 beds and a dresser. Well, no one can see you there, so I just kind of made that my home. You can lay all your stuff out and no one's going to take it. So, yeah, that was all I needed. Yeah. So that's what that's give me a second. I got to go back to this. Is a cool looking mod though. Balmora Lighthouse. I didn't reinstall that house mod I used to use, so maybe I'll throw this one in there. I'll leave that open. Back to the email. My other Morrowind mods include multiple graphical mods. A Fletcher mod, which allows the player to use a kit to make both mundane and magic arrows out of alchemical ingredients, which adds another fun crafting element to the game. Fair Magicka Regen, which also allows you to recover Magicka over time. The Creeper upgrade mod. This solves the money issue you described in the last episode. In Gorak Manor in Caldera, there's a funny-looking fellow named the Creeper. He'll buy back most of your stuff at full price, and this mod gives him 100,000 gold. Yes, please. And Zen's Marksman Overhaul. This one adds new longbows, short bows, crossbows to Morrowind, as well as tweak the stats of all the marksman weapons to be more realistic and balanced. Those all sound like good mods, man. I've got all of those tabs open for installation. All right. He goes on. I've attached my updated Civ 2 scenario. I still got some more work to do. I would appreciate any feedback. If any other listeners are interested, please post in the Juice Bar forums. I'll try to send you a copy of the scenario as well. Absolutely, man. Let's download that right now. Yeah, you got a good mod going, dude. I would definitely like to see this get finished, so I will. It's on my desktop now, and I will play that again. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna prioritize Suikoden, but that will get played again. And that's the very next line in the email. He says, "Any update on the Suikoden project?" I got everything set up and ready to go, but I need to finish the script, and I feel like I have to play the game more before I do that. So, not really. I got sidetracked playing. Once I got everything set up, I got sidetracked playing 2 Extreme and Cool Borders 3, and it was a good time. It was such a good time. I ended up getting on eBay and looked at some PS1 games that I don't have. Didn't actually end up ordering anything, but I was strongly considering getting some new PS1 games. I'm kind of feeling like there's no need for cases at this point. Just order some disc-only games and put them in a big CD folder, which I've got an extra one lying around. So that's where Suikoden is. I would like to do a long Let's Play of Suikoden, just the first few hours. And that's the footage I would use, even though I have my old Hapog footage from the PS3. Yes, Suikoden is still on the table. It's still being worked on. Back to the email. 3 cheers for the Dex Drive. I too have one of those. I got turned on to the idea by the now famous gaming historian. I just dug up my old files on my backup hard drive. I have a treasure trove of save games in there with the likes of Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy V, Final Fantasy Tactics, Robo Pit. Yes, that is an awesome game. Have you ever played Robo Pit?
No.
No. You would hate it. Tomba. Tony Hawk. You ever played Tony Hawk?
No.
I think you played Tony Hawk on the Nintendo 64 when you were a kid.
Well, I don't think I did.
Don't think so? his first video games was on the Nintendo 64, and this was when he was very little. I think you were like 2 years old. Your first favorite game ever was Diddy Kong Racing. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's an awesome game. It's a good game. All right. And even a few seasons from NBA Shootout 97. Yeah, it's funny. I remember you talking about NBA Shootout 97, and I added it. I found it on eBay and added it to like my watch list, and it's been on there ever since. I think that was like a conversation we had like the very first time you and I met in person. It's just been a while, but it's still there. It looks like the most of the individual save files are about 9 KB in size. The largest is actually the basketball seasons, which come in at a whopping 25 kilobytes. Woo! Woo! 25 kilobytes apiece. This might be another one of the goodies that could be thrown in into the MagFest floppy. Did you know that sometimes those demo discs included save games that you could download from the disc onto your memory card using your PS1? I did not know that. I have one in my archive for Medal of Honor that I got from a demo disc. Pretty cool. That sounds cool, man. I had no idea. Although, I wonder if I bailed out of demo discs early, because we got a bunch of demo discs when we first got our PlayStation, and then we got one more, I think, after that, when Metal Gear Solid was getting ready to drop. We got a Metal Gear Solid demo disc that I played a million times. Where all the text, like the voice acting, was all in Japanese. I remember being shocked when I finally got to play the full game and it was in English. I was like, oh yes! That was the first time I ever heard David Hayter's voice. I was like, why isn't he talking in Japanese? It's in English. Why did they put subtitles? I don't know. That's an awesome game, though. All right. He says, you spoke about 1996 and how that was the year several games you admire hit the market. Well, with that in mind, what would you say has been the best year in gaming history? It doesn't necessarily have to be in the 90s. Wow. Best year in gaming history. Okay, so I think there's really two ways to look at this. You can look at what I think you mean is like the best stuff coming out, like the best year for everybody, the best year for the market, or the best year for me personally, because most people are going to give you two different answers. Like, I think the best year for me was when I was in college and I discovered Trouble in Terrorist Town, and I used to play it till 3 in the morning. I would get on the server. I would get on this one server that ran only one map, and I would sit and I'd play until everybody left, and there wasn't enough people to play the game anymore. And then I would go to sleep and my heart would palpitate because I was so unhealthy.
What does palpitate mean?
Palpitations, that's when you can feel your heart beating. And it's like beating too hard, too fast. It's kind of a scary thing.
Yikes.
Yeah. I needed more sleep. It was very bad for me. But just off the cuff, I would have to say it would probably be sometime around that time when we were moving, the industry was moving into disc-based games. And we were seeing more games and come out that were attainable, and used games were something I was really getting into. I guess we had used games as a whole before that because we had Funko Land. But I would say probably somewhere between 95 and 98. And then big box PC games and all that stuff were going on at the time. I'd have to look into it, to be honest. That's a question that requires some reading articles on Wikipedia. When you look up what games came out in 1994, and it shows you a list of the highlights. Good question, though. All right, almost done. He says, I've been thinking about getting back into the Sega Saturn. I think you have Myst for the system. Is that any good? I'm pretty sure I've asked something like this before, but do you have any recommendations for cheap Sega Saturn video games? Hey, kiddo, can you do me a favor? See the brown box? Can you hand me that whole box? The games on the top might fall out. That's all right. That's okay. He's bringing the box. He's bringing the box.
What do I do with this wire?
Is it hooked up to anything? I mean, you can just... Yeah, don't worry about the wire.
Stupid wire.
All right.
Stupid
All
wire.
right. So let's see what I got in the box, Hemrock. Pachinko, Sega Saturn. My Sega Saturn games are as follows. I've got the Need for Speed, disc only. You know, I like traditional racing, like old school racing video games, but that one was a bit of a letdown. Avoid Need for Speed. Myst in particular. Myst is really attainable, but I gotta say, you know how Myst is like a slideshow? It has to load between each slide. So, it's very cheap. But I gotta be honest, Sega Saturn is probably not the best place to play it, unless there's some reason why you really want to get that game. I've got Virtua Fighter 2, which is like everybody's got to have that. It's got to be the single most attainable game on the Sega Saturn. And I've got a game called Blackfire, which is a helicopter game. It's pretty neat. It has some really complex controls. But yeah, it's kind of fun. I like those flight combat sims. Those are pretty cool. There were a couple of really good ones on the PS1 as well. But that's what I have. So not much. Some games that stick out. Blast Chamber is an amazing game. And I saw that on the Saturn recently for not that much money. Saturn's got a lot of really good imports. And not all the imports are insanely expensive. So it might be worth it to get the card that you stick in the back that makes it so you can play the imports. I know that definitely opened up the system for me once I got it. Hey man, if you want to go for broke, get yourself Bomberman. When we were at Magfest, they had Bomberman set up on a Sega Saturn with a couple of the huge adapters and like up to 16 people. And yeah, that was pretty dope. And then we had to reset it for some reason, and we accidentally popped open the Saturn and saw that there was no disc inside. That was our poltergeist moment. So that was definitely a modded Sega Saturn running off of like an SD card or something. I don't know, man. Desm 101. Desm's our resident Saturn guy. What Saturn games should he get, man? I had the most fun with Blackfire, to be honest. Of the games that I got a hold of, Blackfire was really good, and Virtua Fighter 2 was really good. All right, and I think that is the email. So big thanks to Hemrock for writing in. I always appreciate your emails. Play the Steam, the steampunk mod that he made for Civilization 2 because it's awesome. And with that, we're gonna head over to the YouTube channel and read some comments. By the way, I spent real time trying to get a Windows 95 VirtualBox set up, man. I really spent time trying to do that. I got the, what is it? The Oracle VM VirtualBox. I got that set up. I got my hands on some setup software for Windows 95 and 98. Trying to make it happen. Neither one has been successful yet. But I really want this, man. I want this to happen. Very much so. So let's head over to YouTube and read some comments. Another favorite thing that I've been interested in right now is YouTube. There's a channel on YouTube called Vocal Synthesis. Now, what this guy's doing is he's using text-to-speech to read copy pastas, but he's using technology that mimics famous individuals. For example, one day ago, we got Richard Nixon reading the Navy SEALs copy pasta. And if you don't know what the Navy SEALs copy pasta is, you got to look it up. Because there's definitely a video of JFK reading it and Martin Luther King Jr. reading it. And they are choice YouTube videos. But I digress. I got on here to look. I'm getting distracted from looking at my own comment section. Bear with me. The dashboard takes longer and longer to load every time they make changes to it. Here we go. All right. Pull up the ones that I haven't responded to. Yeah, here we go. So we're going to have to go back in time a little bit. 4 days, 1 week. Yeah, here we go. Too extreme. We talked about that. Yeah, last week was coronavirus, bro. It's the coronavirus. Whoa!
It's not.
Happy belated birthday, bro. 59 minutes and 39 seconds in. I freaking love emulation. Always will, even with the real hardware and all that good stuff. I use burn discs, flash carts, multi-carts, and everything along with the legit copies because I think the ability to experience and play the games is far more important than holding and collecting them where they sit collecting dust. Sometimes emulation is the perfect convenience, especially for gaming on portable systems. I gotta say, Desm, I'm a fan of having the useless plastic. I really am. Where at all possible. I'm with you. I do the emulation. But I'm a fan of owning the optical discs that don't do anything. Especially when they're wrapped in extra plastic that doesn't do anything. I put them on the shelf and I display them for no one but myself. Hope your life is good, brother. Good to hear from you. Death Adder writes, happy birthday. I think there were 6 cases of coronavirus in South Carolina at the moment. I've been eating egg rolls every day trying to get it, but to no avail. Speaking of burned CDs, I bought a $5 burned copy of Spider-Man for the Dreamcast back in the day, but it's not like Sega went out of business over it. Uh-oh! Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. I see what you did there, Death Adder. You get it, kiddo? The joke is Sega actually did go out of business. They stopped making systems after that happened.
So what happened?
What he's talking about. See this machine right here? This one? That's the Sega Dreamcast. It was the most powerful machine in its day. It was the first system where you could like log onto the internet and play with other people, but it used CDs like this. This isn't it, but it used CDs like this, and you could just make CDs on your computer and they would play on there. So people would buy games and they would copy them, and consequently you didn't really have to buy the games, you could just get copies. It only took one person in the whole neighborhood to get the game, and piracy was all over the place. Oops, what did I drop? Yeah. See, look, I've got.
Now you're on a new tab.
That's okay. It's still recording. See, this is all for the Dreamcast. MAME. That's like arcade games. Those are videos. What is this? I don't know what that is. I didn't have a label on it. Twinkle Star Sprites. That's that side-scrolling shmup, one-on-one shmup. Guilty Gear, Soul Calibur, and so on and so forth. And then back to me. I have a bigger stack than that, but mostly I was interested in burning like homebrew stuff for the most part. Yeah, and that's what he's joking about. He's joking about the untimely demise of a truly amazing system. Look, the Dreamcast was so cool that the memory cards were actually, they would slide into the top of the controller, and the memory card itself had a little video game on it. I don't mean when you put the memory card in, it unlocked the video game. I mean the memory card had a screen, and it had teeny tiny little buttons, so you could play a video game just on the memory card. Yeah. And when you bought video games from the store, sometimes they would have, hey, put this on your memory card and you can play a new game on it. It was really cool. The Dreamcast did stuff no other system has ever done since. It's great. It's a great console, man. Sip of hot tea for the Dreamcast. Thanks, Death Adder. I hope you're feeling all right. Avoid the coronavirus. Don't get it just for memes. Wash your hands for 38 minutes. Eric Controller. Happy birthday, dude. I'm guessing that you get more presents than just COVID-19 virus showing up in town. Sounds like you've gone... Ooh, this is a long one. All right, I like it. Sounds like you've gone down a similar path with Morrowind as I. Having the distance fog to me made Vardendal seem like it was bigger. Plus, my computer would handle it better, so I would leave that one on too. Have you checked into the Tamriel Rebuilt mods? Pretty amazing stuff. Talk about getting the most out of your game with those mods. All right, Eric. I do have one of those rebuilt mods, but here's the thing. The idea was it was for an area that I had never been to. It wasn't Tamriel, because Tamriel is the enormous one, right? If I have my Elder Scrolls... why is it not finding Morrowind? If I have my Elder Scrolls right, Tamriel is like the entirety of Daggerfall, isn't it? Where is it? Oh, you know why? It's because I have the child lock on. There it is. There it is. Stand by. I'm going to my mod folder right now. We're headed there. Data. Oh, that's right. My mod folder is a big mess now. All right. Okay. You know what? Let's not. We're not going to do it. Oh, yes, we can. I want to find out what this is because I know you guys listening. Okay, so this is what I got. Better bodies, Gothic attire complete, weightless arrows, XE sky variations. What is this? Redarnia? Recreates the fishing village of an old Redarnia, which is mentioned in game dialogues and books, but missing from the actual game. There you go. So not exactly the grand scope of all Tamriel, but a little bit extra, a little something extra. So that's what I've got, and I'll probably be adding all of the mods that Hamrock mentioned earlier. But let's get back to it. He puts a time signature of 1 hour and 15 minutes in. I love it that last week's episode was so long. There's time signatures for past the hour mark. Funny you should say this because I've been thinking about how concerned the world has become with COVID-19. And yeah, it's deadly and should be taken seriously, but I think about how, since the beginning of the outbreak, how many people have died in car accidents during the same time. I bet money that around 10 times the fatalities, yet you don't see a blip in the stock market over it. Nothing in the news, and it's not talked about much. Makes me think the quote from The Dark Knight, "Nobody panics when everything goes according to plan, even if the plan is horrifying." Some food for thought. You know, I agree with you, but the only thing I would say is that people know you can avoid car accidents by driving slow and taking back roads. Like, there's measures you can take to avoid car accidents. Like, we know how to mitigate that threat. You can't eliminate it, but you can mitigate it. The problem with the coronavirus is it's completely unmitigated. There's not a whole, you know what I mean? We don't have a defense mechanism for the coronavirus yet. And I think that it just is one aspect. I agree with you. I know that the hysteria is bonkers off the charts, but that's what I would attribute it to. But let's go back to the email. Sounds like Midtown Madness could be your Quake. I didn't actually play Quake until a few years ago, and I loved it. Never too late to try an old game. It's still new to you. Tell you what, as a birthday gift, I'll become a Patreon. Woo! Thank you, Eric. And support your channel. But you got to promise me to use the money to one day get those games for yourself. All right. I read this, and I should have said, did I say something? Yes, I did. I asked about this Midtown Madness thing, because the first thing I did was like, all right, we're doing this, man. And I looked up Midtown Madness. Now, to me, when I think back on that game, I remember the first game, it had a big box PC release. At least I saw the ads in magazines. Thinking back, I don't know if I ever saw it in a store. Maybe I did. I can't really remember. But I looked it up, and it ain't cheap. It's not hundreds of dollars, but you're looking at like 50 or 60 or something like that. But there's several different ones. Midtown Madness, and then there was a 2, and then there was a 3, and then like 2 and 3 had console releases. I think 3 was even like on the Xbox or something. So let's see. I did ask you about it. I asked you about it in the text, and you said, I only ever played the sequel back in the day. It was good. I thought, because I enjoyed the first game. It's really more like a large expansion pack from what I remember. New cities, new cars, same concept. Win the race in whatever manner you see fit. Awesome. Awesome. I will check it out. Thank you very much for supporting, man. I appreciate it. He goes on. He says, I hope you do look up Poke646. If you do, check out some of the Half-Life mods in the not-too-distant future. I would recommend it. A real gem in the Half-Life modding community. If I remember correctly, I believe it was made entirely by one guy while he was attending game design courses in college. Clearly a wise choice on his part. Awesome memory of 3D Movie Maker. Thanks for sharing. Funny to see how some of the best gaming memories are when we're in tough times. Amen to that one. I played Deus Ex Human Revolution on the PS3 in 2013 when I lived in my brother's tiny apartment, sleeping on a love seat that I don't fit on while working in a general labor job that I had to bike 7 miles across town and then 7 miles back in the winter because my car broke down. Still, one of my fondest memories and one of my fondest games of all time. Amen. Hell yeah. I swear I'm almost done and I'll shut up. Lastly, I wanted to say I support the idea of you making a video of Suikoden like you've been saying. I've never even heard of this game, and when I looked it up, it reminded me of the good old days of Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy games I used to play back in the day. I'm sure it's an awesome game, and you do a fine job breaking it down and giving us a show to enjoy. Peace. That's so cool, man. I'm glad you checked out Suikoden. It's a great game. I'm giving away, the stuff to talk about, but that game sits right on the cusp, right in between the huge renaissance we had in the 16-bit era, and then just before all the amazing RPGs came out for the PS1, like your Final Fantasies and stuff. It sits right in between those two. It was developed the same year that Chrono Trigger came out, so it makes sense that it's reminiscent. One of the things I like about Suikoden is the large party size. You have 6 people when you go to a battle. So unlike, say, Dragon Warrior or something, they can crank the difficulty of the monsters up just a little bit because you got more people to deal with it. So when you have a boss battle, the boss battles feel almost like wizardry if you've ever played those games. It's like an old favorite that I love. The people who've been listening for years are tired of me talking about it, but yeah, it's a cool game. Very cool game. Worth checking out. I will do some Suikoden, and we will make the video. I think in order to get that done, to make that really happen, at some point I'm gonna have to set a deadline, and we'll say this is the deadline, this is the release date, and this is when we're gonna do it, and that's how I'll get it done. All right. Good to hear from you, brother. Thanks for supporting. Much appreciated. Mecha Menace writes, I like the Mega Man-esque song in the beginning, though it could never be a level tune with that ending. Yup. That click and play sounds hella slow to program games. Get Unity. It's free for hobbyists, and you can instantly see stuff running. The plus side is that you'll pick up the skills you can use outside of Unity while learning to make a game in Unity. The only problem with that Mecha Menace is I'm not really super interested in making games anymore. I'm working on my platforming game with my son because he can build levels in it, and the whole thing is really simple, and we're just having a good time. You start talking about getting into Unity and all that stuff, then it becomes you really got to put in a lot of work, and that's not what this is about. I have a commercial edition of Game Maker from a couple years back. You're okay. And we're just kind of fooling around with Game Maker, and that's it. It might not ever even be like out on the internet for people to download. It's just, we're just having a good time. I mean, I took the time to get Game Maker when it showed up in the Humble Bundle. I spent the $1 or whatever it was. Might as well use it. This is the reason why I used to jump on Humble Bundles and sock the games away, so that when the time came, I had them. You got something?
Another funny thing that I feel like I should mention is the fact that when we were naming our platformer, it turns out
You gotta lean forward a little bit.
that the name for our platformer was actually also, my dad found out, a bad word in French.
Yes. Do you remember the name of the game?
Sacre bleu.
Sacre bleu. See, the joke is the box is blue. The guy you play as is blue.
Yeah.
So, sacre bleu. I don't know. I don't know. I had to come up with something. All right.
We'll try again next time.
All right. There's more to this comment, though. We got to finish this. This is Mecha Menace, man. This is one of the boys. This is his comment gets the red carpet for sure. He says, your Morrowind talk about having to go through different shops in order to sell all your goods made me think of the future of gaming, specifically VR gaming. There will be a point where you breathe in the nanobots to activate your PS9 gaming experience in your brain. And when that happens, it would suck if games were almost handcuffed by the accurate visual representation of landscapes and objects in those worlds that allow you to walk really fast, or how towns are closely situated next to each other. That would throw off your belief in such a world. But if the opposite was represented, real-time walking limits you to where you can sell goods. It might seem like a huge task, as it would be in the real world. Games might not feel like the escape they are now. It would be as if you had 2 lives to manage. You might say games like The Sims or The Second Life do this already. There are a bunch of abstractions in those games that would take away a bit from the mundanity. I know the counter-argument is that some people want that specificity. I mean, come on, we're all going to be intrigued by what Shenmue offered back in the year 2000. These people will only be able to enjoy one flavor of chocolate, unfortunately. It's interesting to think someone playing this hypothetical game 50 years from now might think of similar experiences as in Skyrim as retro. A lot of stuff in that comment. A couple of responses, let's read them. Alex Swingle says, at that point, just do actual drugs instead of nanobot drugs. Alex Swingle says, haha. Mecha Menace says, haha, nice. I gotta say, at that point, I'm not playing video games anymore. If I'm gonna put on my virtual reality goggles and get on my virtual reality treadmill to simulate working in a warehouse or some crap like that, I'm gonna read a book. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna read a book. It's coming, man. It is coming. Yeah, it is. The games are getting too big for their britches, man. That's why I like to look. I just plug in the old Atari. I know what to do with Atari. Come on, man. I can play Jungle Hunt. There's only one button. It's a big red button. You press the button. It's that simple. I don't have to spend, an hour trying to figure out how to play, unless you're trying to play that game where Sword Quest. That was it. Then it's going to take an hour to figure out how to play. But most other games, you just put it in there. Do you guys remember that on the NES? It was the same way. Very few games you had to look in the manual for. You just kind of stuck it in there and you hit the power button. The manual was for the story. If you wanted to read the paragraph and a half of the story prior to starting the game, that was what the manual was for. You didn't need to know how to dive menus or stuff like that. For most games. I know you guys out there are probably going to find some exceptions. What about Silent Service? Could you play that without looking at the manual? You can be captain of a submarine, big shot? Whoa, you didn't have to look at the manual to be captain of a submarine. Yeah, I know, but you didn't have to look at it for Super Mario Brothers, did you? Which is funny because people would pay big money for expanded manuals, so they could strategy guide. It's a very big manual. Never looked at the manual, but I looked at the strategy guide. Cyber Brickmaster 1986 left a comment on my Cool Borders video. I miss extreme sports games. We need more good games based on snowboarding and skateboarding. Yes, I agree with you. They were a lot of fun. And I want to play a few more of them on the channel sometime soon. Desm101 writes, oh man, I loved Cool Borders. I remember skipping class in high school to play this with friends. It really defined snowboarding games for me at the time. And I left him the comment, I remember when when 1080 came out on the N64 and being pissed because I didn't have that system yet and therefore could not own every single extreme sports game. And he responds, we rented that for our N64 as kids. It was fun, but the difficulty of the tricks made it a little annoying for me. I think the original arcade 720 is my favorite extreme sports game. Wow, that is old school. You ever play 720, kiddo? No, it's old. It's an old skateboarding game. I think I might actually have it on a plug and play. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. If I remember right, at that point in the Nintendo 64 lifespan, they were still really pushing this middle analog stick thing. So let me guess. I'm just guessing because I never actually got the chance to play 1080. You probably have to use the analog stick in the middle, and then it's the weird combinations. Yeah, I bet. I wanted it though, man. I was like, look at that. It's got graphics that beat the PS1. This is way better than 2 Extreme. Awesome stuff. We are an hour and 20 minutes, boys and girls. You know what that means. We made it an hour and 20 minutes. Not quite 2 hours, but we made it. So, thanks for spending some time hanging out, listening to some chiptunes, talking some video games. As they say, time is the world's most valuable currency. So I value the time you spend here hanging out, trying to get some positive vibes. Because my goodness, aren't those a rare thing today. So with that, whatever it is you got to do, whether you're driving to work or heading off to school, keep going. Don't give up. Keep getting out of bed. Keep getting in the car and heading off to work and showing up like you're supposed to. I'm wishing you all the best. And when it's all over and you're ready to kick it up for the next weekend, I'll be there and we'll hang out again. I'll see you then.